We just work really, really hard.
I've been properly insolvent twice. I want to personally thank Amex. If you're listening, hard work beats talent. If talent doesn't work hard.
When you work hard and when you achieve, it's a relief to us. That's what we were born to do.
If you're not smashing out engaging content, funny content, educational content, don't even bother.
Every single time I've wanted something, the thought about it and the journey to get it was 100 times better. Welcome to the first episode of Never Not Building, the podcast for founders who don't believe in finish lines. I'm Andrew Rassa, CEO and co-founder of OMG. And I started this show because the truth is, real entrepreneurs just don't want to retire. They don't switch off, they build, then they build again. This show is for the ones who are obsessed with progress, performance, and the process of getting better. You'll hear from people who've made something from nothing, doubled down when things got messy, and found smarter ways to scale. Never Not Building starts now. Our one rule is build or die. To kick things off, I've had to bring in someone who walks the walk. Domenic Giampaolo is the founder and CEO of Elite Supplements, one of the biggest names in health, performance, and fitness supplements in the country. He's built an absolute monster of a business with over 140 locations, a booming e-com arm, and a community-first approach that's reshaped how Aussies train. Besides being a really good friend, I really rate Dom's mindset. He's built this thing from scratch, survived the chaos of COVID retail, and come out swinging. Today we're talking grit and what it really takes to go from stocking shelves to running an absolute empire. Dom, welcome to Never Not Building.
Well, thanks for the validation. I finally made it. You know, when Andrew gives you that, that's just 10 points up already, net worth. Listen, how I started. My old man was importing subs from the US and he was doing a little bit of wholesale. And we opened a store in the city of Canberra. And back then the margins were insane. And all your labour on that was lower. And I saved up all my pennies. I worked in there for about a year. And this is the real key to this story. I did not buy a house. I bought 25% of that business. I did not buy a house. And that one store funded about another 5 or 6 because it was on fire. Industry hadn't got to where it was today. And then dollar dropped, boys got out, and I was just sort of running the show from a young age. We got to about 16 sites and I did a licensor model. Horrible mistake. But got us to about 30, 35 sites, franchised, and kaboom. So that's the story. But in fact, right before I got into that store, I'll tell you, there's a little intricate thing. I was playing football for Australia in the AIS, in fact, and it didn't quite work out because I was a stupid kid. And there was another boy from the ACT at that same level. And I won't say his name out of respect, but he was a great player and he didn't quite make it either. And he got into a bad space and almost depression, if you will. And that sort of ignited a fire in me. And from about 18 to 26, 27, truth to this day, I did not take a day off. Like it just put some fire in me. And that's how I got it.
That's a really cool story. I didn't actually know that. And I think there's a few interesting points there. One, that you didn't buy a house, that you invested. And I think that's a very big point of contention, probably something we can touch base on later. But the other one is like, you don't probably give yourself enough compliments there. You went from 0 to 35 sites. People struggle from going from 0 to 1 to 2. So you did absolutely incredible. Is there anything when you look back at now that you credit most for early traction? Was it just the hard work, or was there something else that you would credit that helped you grow quick?
Listen, we were fortuitous. I mean, the industry was on a massive incline and it was new and popular to people and exciting. You know, those days though, I think there's a little bit of regret there because a younger version of me was good at selling the dream and what come by that. Now, you know, mid-30s, it's under promise and over deliver. In fact, I almost say you know what you're getting in for before this show because I don't actually want you to have it. But back in your 20s, it was sell the dream, right? And you know what you're like in your early 20s, just a ball of energy getting thrown at it. So nothing particular, just an enormous work ethic back then.
Yeah. I feel like with most things that we tend to do, we just work really, really hard. And just if it doesn't work, we just change and we adapt. And eventually it just keeps growing. Was there anything now you look back and you're like, there was a really hard moment in a point of the business where you'll never forget?
There would be a few, but I mean, I'll highlight one. I think a lot of people in business have been through this. I owned 25% of a growing business, and one of our partners, my dad's youngest brother, in fact, everything's amicable and good, but he wanted to get out and do his own thing. So my share at that time went 8% higher. But to get the liquidity to buy him out, survive with no working cap, restructure and pivot, a very charismatic guy, a very intelligent guy, to do that and then go on without him was 2 to 3 years of a very stressful time. But, it goes to show if you can survive it. I mean, truth be told, we're still going through moments now. We're not done with our journey, but that was one to.
Yeah, because then you got to come up with the money to invest. I had a similar situation in my business. It's a risk, but you got to back yourself, right? And you just got to keep going.
Well said. There was early days. I was 4 or 5 years ago. I was lingering with this thing to sell a property and flick 2-3 mil to my old man for another 10 or so points. Back then it was relative. Oh, fast forward the clock. I'm kicking my ass for not doing that because that's worth 10x today. Yeah. I love it. Equity is everything in our space for sure, especially if you're on the right trajectory.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything when you look back now, is there any point where you're like, we may have stuffed this up? Like it could actually go under? Was there any point at that time where you had that shit moment?
I don't know how much I can say, lads. I think I've been like properly insolvent twice. In our life, and I want to personally thank Amex if you're listening, and all the institutions. Like, we are a goods business, and liquidity can be tough sometimes. I can't. Only a founder can really relate to this, or someone on that journey. I know it's a cliche, but legitimately insolvent and trading, and we're very fortuitous to be here today.
For the people that don't know, Dom called me a few weeks ago and he told me how much money he had to invest in stock. I think for all the people out there that are like, e-commerce is exciting and let's get into e-com, and you see all the transactions later down the track, when you have to hold so much stock, it's scary.
Yeah. So, be careful. Like it's not coming in your pocket as a dividend. The good thing about it is you have an exit strategy or an exit plan. But as we sit here today, we hold $21 million worth of inventory. I'd much rather that be in my account than in stock. Yeah, that's the reality of the business.
And then you got to make sure you sell it. You got to make sure it doesn't go off, all that type of stuff, right?
You got to make sure it's turning in 4 months. You got to make sure you're not getting out of stocks, the balance. For us right now, we're going through some drama of stock turn because it's not changing to cash if you're not turning it quick enough. It's actually one of the biggest problems we're facing. So,
can you touch base on that? I've never heard that term before.
Ideally, I think a private label and white label goods changes this. So as a retailer, typically you want to carry about 5 to 4 weeks of stock, turn it, convert it to cash, boom. But as a private label, it's just administratively not possible. The rule of thumb is about 4 months. And right now, my big 2030 private label SKUs, I'm holding 10 months. So it means I'm broke because I'm not converting it to cash quick enough. Now, on a $21 million business, if I have the typical 1% of shrinkage a year, that's 210 grand loss off your P&L. So we are so vigorous around stock control. We aim for 0.33, 0.5. So the stock is it's a nightmare, but it's like our single greatest asset.
Yeah, e-com sounds like a crazy business. I'm glad I'm not in it right now, but
yeah, I think you're right. There's so many challenges we could get to later, but e-com is, I'm actually hoping for an erosion of the bottom of the market because it's that tough. In fact, I think we're seeing it. I think if you can hold on for a year or two, Google and Meta don't twist the knife anymore, I think you will be fine because the bottom will fall off.
There's something I want to touch on that because I think there's a lot of questions that people have at the moment about in the retail space. So you probably see it the most. I see it across many of our clients in the retail space at the moment, but record insolvencies and stuff like that in the retail space. What are you seeing? What are you seeing happening right now in retail? Because you talked a little bit about the eroding at the bottom of the market, and that's probably, I hate to say it, but it's probably not a bad thing. But what are you seeing in the retail space? Are you seeing there's areas that do better? Are you seeing there's different states, cities that are doing better, that are spending more? Is the average order volume going down? Is it going up?
Physical retail or both? Man, we're seeing a lot of things. So AOV, or average basket size, got smashed over the last 18 months with the living crisis in Australia. What I see in retail is they're working backwards now of content or the attention. I think you could easily blanket and say apparel doesn't work. Apparel is completely dead. Look at all the closures. However, if you're this young, cool brand and the content is just engaging and there's a story there, I don't think there's anyone to tell you that it cannot work. In terms of the country, I mean, Southeast Queensland right now is unbelievable what is going on up there, even through our own infrastructure. Sydney's pretty strong. But I think Australia in general, Andrew and I talk about this often, we're a little disheartened at the way the economy is being handled, and it actually makes it a little tough for business. So, yeah, I think I think retail is, if you're not absolutely smashing out enormous amounts of content, engaging content, funny content, educational content, don't even bother, because it's the age of attention, isn't it?
Yeah, like I from what I could see, even with my clients, is a lot of the outlets that are just focused on retail are really, really suffering. If you've got a good brand that you come in there and you've got a good personal brand behind it with engaging good social content, I think you can do well. But I think the days of just having a storefront is going to be very difficult to push through.
I stop you, but there is a balance, right? We got an CMO, really intelligent. We got him from Under Armour, and he was in my office the other day arguing. I'd love to show you this. So he says, retailer here, brand here. Like, where are we exactly aiming? And you think of this, guys. If I go retailer, Chemist Warehouse, absolutely zero brand story, disgusting, putrid, but making bank, more money than you know. But they got zero brand story and the content's horrid. And then you have, maybe we'll call it LV or Apple on the other end. So where are we going, right? But if you do retail to its core absolutely properly, vast catalog, cheap prices, convenient, you can still make dollars. Work out where your pitch is here. And do you know where everyone goes wrong? That's what the CMO was saying. It was brilliant. Everyone thinks that they're LV, or everyone thinks they want to be a brand, and they come up to this side of the spectrum and they fail. You don't hear all the fail. For us, at the end of the day, we've actually built a brand, but we need to be a little bit closer. Don't forget that we're actually a retailer at our core. So it's just super interesting when you really get the perception of it.
When did you feel like you saw yourself as a brand? Now, I've got to give you compliments. As a friend, I do pay you out a lot, but obviously because I love you. But everyone I'm speaking to right now, if I say, have you heard of Elite Supplements? They heard of you. And unfortunately, I don't have that with my brand, but I'm very proud that obviously I'm a good friend of yours. But was there a moment in time where you're like, shit, people know this elite brand?
Thank you so much, man. It makes me a little proud you saying that. I think we really have focused, and I believe we're still doubling down on that. We've validated through, Brisbane Raw and athletes of late, and it's helped even more. And although I talked about being a retailer at core, you can absolutely guarantee we're going to keep this brand piece going. We did a run club, our first run club of Burleigh, a couple of days ago, 50 people on the start, just great engagement. We're just concentrating back on community. By the way, guys, there's a lot of brands that do it even far better than us. Just a shout out to some brands that I admire. LSKD, what a brand they've built, and some others like that. So, there's a long way to go for us, but I really appreciate that. And just on that, very interesting. We're not done. I go out in Sydney. What do you do? Oh, I own Elite Subs. Oh, I love Elite. There's one near me. Blah, blah, blah. You are right. It's a good feeling. But I go to Melbourne, wanker city, Melbourne. They say, oh, what do you do? Oh, I own Elite Subs. What's Elite Subs, man? I'll just go get my double shot latte, blood free, So they don't, so I got a long way to go. I don't have that same market penetration in Melbourne.
Has your role in the business changed? Are you focusing on different things now? Or, what does your role look like now than what it did, 10 years ago?
I could give a glamorous answer, but there is not one. This is nice and enjoyable, what we're doing today. My work day to day, I think for lack of a better word, sucks now. It's so tied up with lawyers, accountants, banks, leasing.
All our favorite people.
It is so so far away from the origin of the brand and what I love to do. I make a conscious effort to get in and behind the counter when my ADD is not in full circle, and I really try to stay with the origin. I'm really blessed to have good people around, but the reality is 70, 80% of your day is tied up really far away from what you started out with. Well, that's my reality.
I think as you become a big business, your focus it has to change. People underestimate how good having a good lawyer and a good accountant is as well, right?
Oh, they're necessary.
Yeah.
And, when you have 550 employees like us, I think your motivation changes too. It's like, no, their mortgages and their salaries, they're a huge priority to me. So before I get all to the glamorous and pretty stuff, it's to ensure that everything is ticking over like clockwork, and on we go.
Yep, awesome. As much as I pay you out about being from Canberra, every time I go, you show me a good time. But talking about Sydney, you bought a piece of land for $20 million recently. A piece of land, there was nothing even on it. Obviously, to me,
hey, but what a piece!
To me, that's mind-boggling. And you're building a state-of-the-art infrastructure there. You show me some pictures; it looks absolutely incredible. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about what the motivation? I know it was to get a little bit closer
to you,
to me.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit more about that and what your plan is there.
Yeah. This block, guys, is becoming really challenging at the moment because a business like us needs working capital to continue to grow. And a lot of our working capital is going to the block, the purchase of it, and the build to come. So excuse me if I don't talk about it in such a positive, enthusiastic light. I'm going through it right now as we speak. But yeah, we bought a $20 million plot in Bella Vista, actually near Woolworths and Amazon, which is like incredible neighbors. And I hope the block itself opens up some doors. But it's nothing too glamorous. We're not manufacturing or anything out of there. As we speak today, I've got a great facility in the ACT, 3,500 square meters, in fact. But I have 1,000 pallets off-site, stored outside of that warehouse. So we need it for size, and we're going to do a big push into Asia Pacific, and we need it if it works. It's got like a show space. So if a master franchise comes from Thailand, I can walk them through the concept. Gym underneath for everyone coming. I just worked through the 3Ds the other day. Incredible working space. But it was more out of necessity. And I think we were discussing Amazon before we got on air, Andrew. I need to shave a day off a lot of my transit time. I had to. Because for us, lifetime value, LTV, is everything now. Because back in the day, you're making money on transaction number one. If there's a brand making money on transaction number one, I want to know, I want to invest. But no one typically is. So if we don't get our lifetime value right, we die. And that will come from quicker shipping times, more shipping options. I had to move to Sydney because little old Canberra couldn't give us what we needed.
And I think that's where we're seeing the movement right now is that the younger generation that are coming up, the shorter, they've got such a short attention span. So if things don't happen now, within a few hours, I need my product, or the next day, or whatever.
They want it yesterday. They order it and they thought it was going to come
Everyone
yesterday.
wants to be a millionaire overnight.
Yeah.
Everyone wants the fast cars now and the high life now. So it makes sense.
Well, you're exempt from that?
There's something there's a big talking point right now, and it's around AI. Is there any part, obviously I'm trying to incorporate, I haven't even scratched the surface with my business and AI, but in your space, what are you seeing? Are you seeing you can incorporate bits and pieces from AI and improving your business overall?
We've got a little implemented in our ops side, back of house, generating reports, cutting through some of the grey. I agree with you. We're doing it poorly. I think we need to be doing it better, but I almost need counsel on it. It's hard to understand where to implement it. On the front, we've actually got a great customer service in conjunction with AI, which will give some candid responses and assist the CS team, or customer service, sorry. I think we're struggling with it. But it's eroding like little legal stuff. I think it's completely negated paralegals. I think they're going to be the first to go. What do you need a paralegal for when you got ChatGPT?
Yep.
And it probably helps if you know how to use it. You can be a little more efficient in your own workflows. I'll be lying if I said we're uber creative and applying it everywhere. I'm actually concerned. I think we need to get some outside counsel and have a look.
So even from my business, I'm looking now for a chief of AI, and it's only been around from being actually usable for the average person a few years now.
There's a C-suite chief of AI. Wow.
Yeah, well, I think it's probably something I just made up at the time.
You're a market for it.
But it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Talk to me. How much?
I can
Do I want to know?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
Whatever we're willing to pay for it, I guess. And it's something that you can systemize. You don't realize how the younger generation, like the millennials and the Gen Z, they're using it so much. They're not even generally using Google as much anymore. They're just using it to get quick answers straight away. It can automate processes. It can get you so much done, which is crazy. But that leads me to my next question: is that just talking about hiring, especially when I hired initially, if I got a good vibe from the person, I hired them. But has the way you've hired people now changed from when it was a few years ago? I mean, you can ask better questions from ChatGPT. It'll give you better questions. But is the way you hired, is it different now?
I don't personally hire too much anymore. But in a word, I'm going to say no. If I take C-suite out, we had this motto, it was will over skill. And I love attitude and demeanor. And I even love interviewing in person. I think you get a lot from body language and charisma. I hate hiring over Zoom if it's really important to myself. I'd rather fly them in. And we're will over skill. I think the only exception to that is C-suite. You need to be a lot more diligent, really check the experience.
Take your time.
What IP they're going to bring. But outside of that, I'm like 98% attitude. I don't even care if their IP is 2%.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And that's pretty much been throughout. I am lucky though. I don't do too much hiring anymore. But the boys do a little, boys and girls, sorry, they do a little bit of AI and they use their parameters a little quicker and filter much faster than they used to, especially at that low level. Sorry, not low level, but managerial level. And stuff.
To be honest, just talk about hiring an AI. What's going to happen is that the easy tasks become obsolete, which is going to be unfortunate for the unskilled labor force. The easy tasks will go away, and then hard tasks will actually just become easy. So what's the next challenge above that? Is there new roles that open up, engineering roles, AI engineering? We don't know. But I think the way, Dom, you and I and our brains...
You think it's going to take away low-level labor?
I think so.
In terms of administration?
I think so. I think it's gone.
But really, not labor administration.
Well, just going back to the paralegal point, is you want to read a contract, it takes you 30 seconds to read a contract. It'll give you the highlights in ChatGPT, the whole lot. Creative roles are going to be gone. There's going to be a lot of roles that are going to be automated. Now, I beg to differ, and I hope the unemployment rate doesn't double. I think new opportunities will open up, but as businesses and as business owners, I think we need to be the first onto it. I think you need to get onto it before it actually becomes an issue.
That's really interesting. On what timeline?
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying you speak, but everything you said, I believe it's accurate, but on what timeline in your opinion?
This is the thing. It's becoming so much faster. I had probably 80% of my staff, 90% of my staff weren't even looking at ChatGPT till 3 months ago. Now I literally walk around the office and I make sure that people are using it.
Yeah, correct. We're doing a course on it as well for middle management and up.
Yeah.
We're doing a course on it so that they can put it into their own workflows.
Dom versus Goliath. Dom, I'm putting 3 big dogs from your industry on the table. Some we might know. With big personal brands, deep pockets, and serious reputations. You've got to pick one, go head to head with, and tell us exactly how you'd beat them at something they're known at being absolutely epic at. Remember, there's no playing nice. You can do whatever you want. Major player number 1, a good friend of ours, and I would say a huge brand globally. I think we all look up to him. The company is EHB Labs. The second one, and the second big player, is F45. And the third major player is Amazon. So, pick one of these massive brands. No playing nice.
And do it better.
Do it better. Do it faster.
I think Amazon, no chance. Is a shout out to you, man. You do an incredible job. I'll leave you in your space as well. I'll just keep riding the coattails. But I'll take F45. They could have just tacked a 400 or 500 square meter gym on and saved everything. Mate, they had the whole market there. How did they lose that share? I'll definitely take F45. Something must have gone wrong. How can you be first market mover, pioneer it, and lose all the market share they're losing now?
Are they even around anymore?
I actually think they are having some mini resurgence, but man, they didn't move. They didn't be agile enough. So I'll take F45.
You know what I think, and this goes back to the previous point, is that if the founders step away from the business and they stop caring, I think that's when a business really falls apart. So they went public, they stopped caring, and
Yeah, except if your name is what's the Amazon guy's name?
Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos. He's like 37 miles away, and Amazon is still making bank. So.
Yeah, I think it depends on your size.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've obviously conquered Australia, apart from Melbourne, by the sound of things. We recently saw you opened up in Singapore.
July 10th, I opened.
July 10th. Congratulations. Why Singapore?
We were doing DD between NZ and Singapore, and my chief e-commerce officer was hiring a head of digital. So funny, so clever, this man. Oh, shout out to Johan. He made them, they got to the final round of 3 and he gave them like a test to do. Well, it wasn't really a test, it was like an assignment. And they asked for all information between New Zealand and Singapore and what's a better market for us to go into next. It's so funny. 80% of the work was done for us by 3 interview candidates. And it really gave us the pathway to Singapore. Very simple. Singapore's got a way bigger middle class, way bigger disposable income. They're enormous on retail. It's disgusting how much they like retail and a big fitness culture. So English is the main language. I really, really hope it works. We're going to test that model 90, 120 days. If we get proof of concept, boom, I'm going to be on the bank's doorstep and we're going to the moon. But I've got a proof concept 90, 120 days. I'm super excited.
Did I hear you may have messaged me or may not have messaged me yesterday about Dubai?
I had a meeting last night around Dubai, but the capital requirements for Dubai scare me. I'm not sure if the gentleman interested really understands the CapEx involved for a city like that.
Yeah.
Because it's just so glamorous and so much grandeur involved.
Great place. I'll show you around.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to get 20, 30 grand of the budget for Andrew to come and attend DD with us. It'll be fine.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, you'll have line item.
Look, a lot of this podcast is around, founders that can't switch off, and even, if you decide to sell later down the track, what's it going to be? Like I know we've gone on holiday together, but what's it like when you switch off? Can you switch off? Is that something you can turn off? Obviously, our brains work in certain ways. I struggle big time to switch off. It's always about growing and becoming better. But, what's it like in your head? I think a lot of people want to know, even when you go away or you go away on the weekend or whatever that might be, can you switch off or you're always thinking about the next thing? Because, 500 staff, 140 plus stores. I don't know what's going through that mind of yours.
I don't know. I think you strike a bit of a chord. I could put my head on this desk and cry. I am so mentally poor from this business. I think you sort of build wealth or relative wealth on one hand, but I don't think there's a way around it. Oh, maybe there's some people that are just truly blessed, and I don't know. It's hard to say. It's just so sad. You ebb and flow. You can have some fleeting moments of peace, like a beautiful song comes on, or maybe you make like this beautiful eye contact with one of my kids, but they're like fleeting moments. It is so tough. And I take solace maybe in the fact that if it was easy, everyone would do it. I know that's a cliche, but it really resonates with me. But it's not hard, like verbally. Like if you could live through it for a year or two, you could probably relate. I think just the last 3 to 4 months, I've been waking up every hour or every 2 hours. I write myself a quick email note and I'm like back to another couple hours sleep. It's hard to explain. I think Andrew and I have a really beautiful friendship because I can talk to him like this, but the truth is, and I'm not trying to be silly or mean, there's not an enormous percentage of the population that you can talk to like that and they can understand. Yeah, it's really
So I think that's a very interesting point, and I now know and understand why. And I hate to sound disrespectful, but I don't do business with people that haven't been successful because you just don't get it. I hate being in my own head. As a matter of fact, if I'm in my own head, I start to get a little bit depressed. It's not about, after a while, it's not about the money. If you've made the money, you've made the money, and that's fine. It's something that you can't necessarily change. And for all the people that comment, or if you buy a nice car or whatever, they may go on a nice holiday, they think that it's just that easy. There's nothing that's easy about it. But in saying that, that's where I find my joy. And I'm sure you're probably the same way, is just when you work hard and when you achieve, especially for, a male, a masculine male that wants to achieve something, wants to build something, I think it's very important to note that down. Just the hard work, the achievement, the money that obviously comes with it. It's a relief to us. That's what we were born to do. So yes, it's stressful at times, but it gives you a certain kick. It's where I get it's.
I probably put a little different spin on it. I think you actually get the moments of reward and are beautiful moments through the most simplistic of times. Could be a coffee with you, could be, doing something quite simple. What I find, what you talked about with the cars or the material things, is it actually strives as motivation. I don't know, again, if people can relate to this. I've got a few beautiful cars, but I have a meeting at Ferrari on Friday, about another one. I actually use the material things more as motivation, because once you get them, you're
that's like everything, right?
Yeah, like you get it. You're like the beautiful moments or the fruits of your labor or success. They come from actually non-material moments. They come from human interaction.
Yeah, I agree with that. And just going back to the point about the cars, every single time I've wanted something, the thought about it and the journey to get it was 100 times better than actually getting the thing, right?
Oh, that is well said. The journey there is way better. When you get it, it's like 48 hours.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, it's true.
I think with most things in life, the thing that you have in your head of what it's going to feel like, whatever that might be, is never as good as once you get it. But in saying that, the journey towards that is the most rewarding bit, I believe. Is there a time in you building your business and your brand, and you almost made a decision and you thought, like, thank fuck I didn't do that? I'm sure you had a lot of great ideas, but is there one that stands out where you're like, you almost made it and then you realize later down the track where you're like, thank God I didn't?
And we almost went to NZ.
You're really hating on NZ at this point.
We did DD there, and I'm happy we didn't open. There's a main place is Sylvia Park in Auckland. Their rents and everything, it just doesn't add up over there. It's worse than Australia. So I'm glad we didn't do that. It's a hard question. I have a regret. In COVID, what I did, risk is reward. I signed 3 or 4 leasing deals in COVID. They were crackers. They're serving us really well today. I wish part of me wanted to sign 20 or 25 because it was just right. But I had this risk adverse, just don't go insane. You don't know what's on the other side of COVID type feeling. So probably not a true answer to your question, but that was one when I look back and I think, geez, I wish I signed 15 COVID deals.
But that's like everything, right? Is it every time something comes out in the media or the news, it's always negative. This time it's different. It's never different this time. It always backs up. It always improves.
And the size of your nuts. The size of the risk is really, because we'd be better placed today if I had done that.
I get it. I could have made a lot of better decisions in COVID.
Yeah.
Just you talked about playing for Australia for the Ollie Roos. What's one thing, and I know when I competed in bodybuilding, I took a lot of the things out of that to the business mindset. But is there something you came out of playing at a top level for Australia that you apply in business?
I actually lacked discipline at that level. I found it because of failure. It led me to extreme discipline. What a shame I didn't have it at that age, because my athleticism and probably talent in the game got me past having my colleagues and my teammates had better discipline than me, better drive, better determination. And that I actually got those traits by failing. I thought you were able to reflect and thought, oh, why didn't I make it? I was a little star. Why didn't I make it? Oh, I lacked discipline. Oh, I lacked nutrition. I lacked everything they were harping on. So let's talk about how life has inversed. I was the last to training and the first to leave, and arguably the best on the park, arguably. Now at work, I'm the CEO. I'm the first in, I open the gate, and I'm the last to leave more often than not. And I think it's again a strange thing about Australian business. People think this guy's got 500 employees, the cars. No. I'm first in. I'm last out. And I have a family at home, so it's he come later in life. It's a shame, really. So for me, it's I didn't learn the discipline through the sport itself.
So do you think that the talent is born, or do you think, because obviously you had a lot of talent, by the sounds of things, play for Australia, but necessarily be lazy. But do you think that people that were succeeded worked harder than you in the football game?
100%.
Okay.
There's the cliche, hard work beats talent. If talent doesn't work hard,
Yeah.
that's just so true. And I think today as well, if I talk about the sport, football is a beautiful game because Andrew and I talk a lot about what you have to do to live in the moment. It's funny. We had this conversation in Thailand. You have to drive a fast car. You have to, there's a few things you have to do to be really present. And football is one of them. But I think now talent is still super important, but athleticism, like most sports, is like, if you're not born naturally super athletic, don't waste your time.
But I
anymore.
think that goes back to the business point of view. I don't think this is for everyone. I think this is what we do and the stress we go through and how much debt you told me you had, how much debt I used to have. I couldn't handle it anymore. It's not for everyone.
The greatest thing you said was, if someone is consciously choosing to work 9 to 5, consciously going home and putting on Netflix and enjoying their evening, I like that person. I envy that person. However, if they're just a simp and doom scroll or whatever, that's right. Different. But if they're consciously choosing that balance, I have an enormous amount of respect for them because they're not choosing this lifestyle.
Totally. Okay, we're almost done. So you've championed a business and a brand away from the bro-heavy stereotype and more to the female side of things. Why did you do that? Like, what was the focus on that? Because I've noticed the Elite brand is definitely focused more on that side of things, and I give you a huge amount of respect because it's something that was pioneered, I believe, from your business, especially how popular it's become over the last few years. Why did you do it? Did you see something shifting? Did you see a change? Or
Thank you so much, man. It really means a lot. I believe we did pioneer it in our space, opened the funnel up, and shout out to my team. Thank you, team. It's not me, but our split is 52-48 online, 60-40 in store. The larger figures being male. Yeah, we're just resonating with females. And that probably comes to that building the brand and being less of a retailer. I think the more we build the brand, the more the females are going to come on board. And we've done an incredible job at opening the funnel. And that's probably a goal for us to keep opening it up. We don't want to neglect the bottom of the funnel, the guys like yourself and I that are in the gym 6 days a week and training on. We don't want to neglect us, but we'll almost take us for granted a little and come up. So if you ask me how we did it, I think we built more of a brand and put the content out that speaks to them. Lot more to do in that space. But I really thank you for observing that. I don't think many people know that. And I think as well, if you look at our big competitors in the space, they're very reactive to us. I respect them. They do an incredible job. But I look at Chemist Warehouses and the aisle at Woolworths more than I do probably them because they're quite reactive to us and they're trying to follow that game.
What worked? Obviously, they've been around a long time, so it's worked for a long time. But I think you've made the right move, and that's why you continue to take over. Last question: when you hear Elite, obviously it's very different. The business was in a different position than it was 5 years ago. 5 years from now, if someone says Elite Supplements, like, do you want it to be a global brand? What do you want people to hear? What do you want it to make you feel? Where do you want to see it?
Yeah, I you don't tell people your dreams or goals because sometimes they're too ambitious to really say out loud, but I think we can do it. I think 1,000 outlets, I think Elite household name, I think it's just I think the key now is, and I'll say it, I maybe don't want to say it in case people listen, but I think we've found the secret sauce. It's community. And I think if we keep unlocking that and we have an ability to do it outside of borders, I think we'll go on to that dream. I don't know. I think it's highly unlikely we do it privately owned as we are now, truth be told, but we'll give it a crack.
The 100K play. So, Dom, obviously I probably need to give you more than 100 grand now, but let's say, you're starting again. I give you 100 grand. You got to use it to build it again. And obviously you learnt a lot over the last 10 to 20 years. How are you spending it? What would be the smartest play that you could make? And this is probably a good segment for a lot of people that are wanting to start out, that don't have a huge amount of money and that are scraping all their dollars to start out again. What would you do?
If I had 100K
if you had 100 grand, you got
Australian pesos.
one big. It's not worth much anymore, is it?
No.
One big play. Would you go build the team? Would you build the brand? Would you build the product? Would you just go and do some viral push? What would you do?
If you guys got time, I want to give you a joke answer and a real answer. If I had 100K, I would consider writing to the 2 or 3 biggest OnlyFans girls in the world and be like, breathe in this cup and I'll sell this fucking cup, because that is an absolute joke, the money transitioning in that space. It's a joke. So I would consider that, and I would definitely sell that air for millions. My real one is, if I had 100K, I would actually, again, I'm going to give this IP, you're all welcome. If I had 100K AUD, I'd back myself as a self-brand right now. I would go content, right channels, right guests, right people. It's all about self-brand now. Strong personality, strong character. And I wish I could go back and do it 15 years ago, in fact.
I think I remember when I first tried it, it was like all Facebook, right? But I think now is the easiest.
No, you're old, MySpace.
Go before that, man. MSN, I was trying to go viral. I think even right now is probably the best and easiest time to build a brand. You got ChatGPT will give you scripts like that.
Can even do your LinkedIn post, things like that.
It can do anything. So I think it's a very good point. And I think that if you're smart and you don't have a huge amount of money, build your personal brand.
But wait, what do you like better, truthfully? Do you like my joke answer better or my real one?
I think it's scary that the joke answer is a little bit too true.
Yeah, okay, fair.
I think there's a lot of people that are willing to spend money that are...
Yeah, I'd monetize all the creeps.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of men out there that are very lonely.
Yeah.
If you can monetize that, by all means,
creeps,
OnlyFans
don't buy
is
the
massive.
air. Get into the gym and shop at Elite Subs.
That's right. Thank you so much. I'm inspired by you. I've known you a long time. You're a legend. Hopefully everyone continues to realize how big and strong this Elite Supplements brand. I think the culture play is going to be a cracker one. Hopefully you continue to use us for marketing like you have for a long time and been crushing. Thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure being your friend as well, mate. So,
thank you so much. You're very welcome today. Thank you.
So that's a wrap on this episode of the podcast. Huge thanks to Dom for coming through. You can check out what they're building at elitesubs.com.au and follow Elite Subs Australia on Instagram. I'm Andrew Rasso and Rasso_Andrew on Instagram. Stoked you're along for the ride. Hit subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcast, and remember to always build or die.